One of the things that business owners forget a lot is to prepare for their own retirement.
Hi, my name's Nick Palavita, and today I'm with a very special guest, a certified financial planner, a chartered retirement plan specialist, and president of National Pension Partners, Max Couliet. Max, tell me what you do at National Pension Partners.
Well, Nick, we help successful small businesses and professionals put together retirement plans that provide them the maximum retirement benefits and big tax deductions at the same time.
Well, how do you do this?
Well, we get on an internet conferencing system with the client. We review their goals, what they want to accomplish, and then put together strategies to help them in implementing a retirement plan that benefits them, not everybody else.
Well, that sounds really good, but how much does this cost?
Well, it's really not bad because the first consultation is free. That allows us to go through and discover whether this strategy works for that business and for you as the business owner and helping you maximize your retirement.
Well, Max, how do we get this free appointment?
It's really pretty simple, Nick. You can either go to our website below or call us at 877-252-1692, and then we can set up a time with either myself, Nick, or one of our other retirement plan specialists, another CPA or advisor in the office to go over this with you and make sure it fits for you.
Hi, my name is Lewis Haupt. I work with National Pension Partners, and I work with businesses to allow them to put the maximum away that they can for themselves and to save taxes.
Hi, I'm Brad Coyle, and I'm the brokerage manager at National Pension Partners. We're always analyzing plan fund choices in order to ensure the participant's success.
If you want more information on how we can help you and your business put more money away in a retirement plan than you ever thought possible, contact us at the website below or call us at 877-252-1692.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Media Show on the Podtv network. And today we're going to be discussing some of the new shows we're going to have on the Podtv network, which are coming up in our new summer specials. First of all, we're going to bring in the co-founder of Podtv, Kim Calhoun, who was busy on the economic show as we're watching. I hope you're not looking at the stock market too carefully.
Oh, no, I'm actually trying to prepare for a timeshare show as well.
Oh, really? That's right. We got the timeshare show. Well, let me tell you something. I think I would have been better off investing in a timeshare than in the stock market.
Don't tell Irene that.
I can lose more in a day than Spaniards make in a year. It makes me crazy.
Timeshare is not an investment. I want to remind people that it is not a happy vacation. It's a horror story for many people. I think it's just the way, policies have changed over the years. But when you're talking about the economy today and the trampoline of the stock market that we're dealing with, it's, I can't handle it. My stomach can't deal with it.
I'm just glad in the pension business we're buffered so that all of our clients, at least in the pensions, didn't lose any money. However, we also manage a lot of 401ks. And tomorrow I meet with our people in Salt Lake, and I don't know what the carnage is going to be in the 401ks, turn to the 201ks. So it's nicer to talk more about the media. So we're going to bring in Mark.
Right.
Who's our
but I do have a question for you about that, Nick, before we change subjects. Okay. What would be a good investment? Because I've been listening to a lot of people pitch about there are some investments out there that people can put their money into that gives them a guaranteed return, no matter what the stock market is doing, whether it's going up, down, or crashing. But it does give them some like financial dividend or interest, right? What is it?
Well, the thing is, we use in our pension, we used it successfully for 23 years. They're called tax-deferred annuities. I mean, simply what happens is in a down market, I want to say 23 years, last time we experienced a down market was 2008. The market was down 37%. Boy, the phones were ringing off the hook. What happened to my pension? We were up 4.5 because they're non-correlated with the market. They're invested in stable, secure, basically portfolios that insurance companies manage. Then these new products are called equity index annuities. So you get the better of the guaranteed rate or the S&P 500, or now we have two new money managers in one of our annuities, Goldman Sachs. You may have heard of them. They're in investment advising. The other is JP Morgan. So you got the better of what JP Morgan did, what Goldman Sachs did, what the S&P 500 did, with a cap. They have a cap on it, so you just can't go off the roof. Or you get a floor rate, which could be 1 to 3%. You get the better of each. So in a down market like this, it actually works really well. So our pension business does really well in a down market. And so I get to go to sleep at night. Frankly, I have most of my funds secured like that. So I didn't have a big problem, but I do have some that are unsecured, which are were unfortunately affected quite greatly by this last downturn. I haven't looked at all my funds yet because they're scattered in all these accounts, but maybe I should look.
Or you can listen to Sasha on Modern Investing and learn how to do some of your
I do listen to Sasha in Modern Investing, and the thing is, I created my fund portfolio, but Sasha, right now, my fund portfolio isn't fun at all, And so the thing is, I'm going like, why did I bother to try to put money in the market when I'm losing money?
Sasha, is your stomach doing this with the stock market right now?
Not really, because I expected downturn, but I didn't expect it so severe and in such a short
and so quickly.
So that could be a situation of pandemia market downturn in 2020. Remember when the market collapsed in a matter of a few days, and then it recovered very quickly, not in a few days, but in a few weeks. And it then went even much higher levels. So I think this is a temporary rebuckle, but unfortunately, there is no capitulation yet. There are people who are hiding their losses, who are bringing more money to cover the so-called margin calls, and they're fighting it and adding more money. Although I said many times on my shows that the recipe, the advice of late William O'Neill, never bring more money if you have a margin call. Sell and then think. Maybe that securities you just sold in the next 5 minutes will start to recover, so you'll buy it back. Maybe instead of 1,000 shares, you'll buy 800 shares or 700 shares or 200 shares. But you don't expose yourself to basically unlimited loss if you keep your stock 7% at loss. Now it's 8%. Now it's 12%. Oh, well, it will recover when it will be again 7%. Then I will sell. No, it will go down to 17%, and then it will go to 28%. How about that? And if you are on margin, your investment is wiped out, period, full time. Nothing is left there. So then you have to go and start selling your furniture and so on, and prepare.
Hey, Sasha, speaking of that and everything, I was looking up in the Motley Fool and everything like that, and they were saying that there were 3 industries, and I'd love to hear Nick's thoughts about this as well before we get to some of our newer shows and everything, since I know that was part of the topic of Media Monday and everything. But they were saying there were 3 sectors, and one of them actually surprised me that they said are stock market crash proof and everything like that. One of them was healthcare. They used the example of Alexion Pharmaceuticals, which I think is ALXN, as the perfect example in terms of an example of a health one. They also said consumer staples, because you got to have your staples like food and toilet paper and toothpaste and a number of other things that are necessary. So they said that Dollar General has been doing well because they offer a lot of those type of sales. And then the third category, which I had really not thought about, but I guess it makes sense because we all needed it at some point in our lives, is utilities. So they were saying that if you were, say, for example, to get York, which is York Water, which is YORW, that they are minus 3.01%, and that's saying that that's a small cap water and wastewater utility that I think is based up in Pennsylvania and everything like that. But what is your takes on those as things that could be resistant to a stock market crash? Your basic consumer staples, your utilities like electricity and things of that nature, and definitely healthcare. Anybody?
In a down market like what we're experiencing right now, I don't think that any stock is worthwhile consideration, except for a short-term bounce like we're going to have, in my opinion, next couple of days, no longer than that. So I've purchased today SOXL, SOXL, small position, 700 shares. We'll see. So far, it acts okay. But you know what? When you look at charts of all high-tech stocks, including SXL, Amazon, Netflix, and just almost any stocks, they have the same chart today. They are opening down, spike up at certain points, and going a little bit down, spike up again. They're all exactly the same. So the only difference is that SOXL, it includes 6 highly regarded high-tech companies, and it's a triple ETF. So if market will rebound, I believe in a 2-3 days rebound. It's not going to be longer than that. So I project that we can make probably 10% in this 2-3 days. And because it's a triple ETF, I hope, I don't know, maybe 25-30%. But it's just that. Then the market will continue to go down, and it will go down much lower, except when there will be a capitulation. And the quicker capitulation will happen, the better for us. It means that the market will then change its direction and will be a big market. But there is no capitulation yet. I never heard somebody jumping out of the window or a stockbroker killing themselves or so on. It's not happening yet. So there is no capitulation.
It hasn't happened yet, and maybe it'll happen later and everything. But they actually, in a separate article from the Motley Fool, they mentioned one that you mentioned as well, which is Taiwan Semiconductor, and they said that was one of the companies that they would look at in a crash and everything. They also mentioned Mercado Libre, Meli, on the stock market, and CrowdStrike, and apparently Meli Libre is a Latin American company, and they're saying that they should be isolated from most economic downs due to its Latin American location. But they also said CrowdStrike, which is a cybersecurity provider, and I know that Nick and others have been in that cybersecurity space. We've got Rex Lee that does a show here on the network that talks about that quite a bit and everything. So maybe cybersecurity will be something that people will look at as well. And Nick, you said you want to talk about some of the new shows, so I'm going to pivot to that just really quickly and everything, because we do have a couple of new shows that are on the horizons, and some that have already been launched. We had the first episode of From Rags to Runway, and talking to her about seeing how often that show will be, but it will be a fashion-oriented show that will be done by Normia Scales and all along those lines. So she did her initial run and everything, and it looked like it got some good reviews in terms of people interested in fashion and the fashion industry. And she is a fashion.
When is the fashion show going to be on?
That is on Sundays at 2:00. Sundays at 2:00 and everything like that. And then at Sunday at 7:00, we have Dropping Pearls with Mama G, who is a activist here in the area, but she had some good conversations around education and everything like that. She actually interviewed one of our past hosts on her initial show, because she had a conversation with Zach around politics and political activism, because even though he's known in the music lane, he is still involved in activism as well. But this time she had Mikhail and also a young lady from, I believe, Maine that was on, that is an educator and involved in trauma. No, she's a nurse, if I remember correctly, but she's involved in trauma and all along those lines. So they talked about the nature of trauma and what's going on with our lives and how trauma is impacting a lot of people, and just a lot of political discussion as well, including discussion around education, because she's even thinking about taking some young people to the islands, I think to Jamaica, so they can get a sense of responsibility. And
what's the name of that show, and when does it?
It is called Dropping Pearls with Mama G. It is on that particular show is on Sundays at 7:00. So it's Dropping Pearls with Mama G and everything like that. We also have a Friday show, and you've sometimes seen her come in and make shows here in this network, and that is the whole notion of doing justice brings joy, or something like that, if I remember the title. But it is Stella Adams, who has been involved in housing issues and a number of other issues. She's even been following the Target boycott and things like that. So her show is on Fridays at noon and everything like that. So that is doing justice brings joy and everything like that. So that is another new show. And we are talking to your fine folks in Spain about bringing a show as well and everything like that. So that show hopefully will be coming in the near future. And they are originally from Spain. They still have family and residence in Spain, but they are doing a 2-year residence, as you know, because they were on our show not that last week, in the Spanish consulate and everything like that down there in Miami. So they are and helping people get some grants and other things to help them go along. So they will be doing a show, and I'm still negotiating with them the time for that show. So there's the 3 that I am aware of, and there are some other ones that we are looking at as well. But yeah, definitely always looking for great new shows, and those are the 3 that are launched and going. Oh, and we did have a sometimes shows, if you know, follow television, you know that sometimes shows have spinoffs, and they also sometimes have breakoffs. I'm thinking about like the great Happy Days, which led to some other shows, including Joni Loves Chachi and everything like that. But what has happened with one of our shows, Misfits Managed, is that the 2 Misfits went in 2 separate directions. So they are turning that show into Kingdoms, Kings, and Queens, which will be on Tuesday at Unbreakable Souls, which will move from Saturday, because it was on Saturday, to Tuesday. So that will be, and it's like a lot of conversation around self-help and everything like that. So that will move from Saturday to Tuesday. And then the new show, Kingdoms, Kings, and Queens, will be at Saturday at their old time of 4 o'clock, right after Sasha and everything like that. So there's been some kind of like adjusting of schedules as well. So.
Yeah, Sasha. Yeah.
Mark, quick question. How people who are not going to watch it online exactly at the time of the show, they want to see it sometime later, maybe even next day. Before, we do it through YouTube and it worked. Right now, it's no longer working because YouTube is removing the shows.
Yeah, YouTube put a strike on us and everything. That's my understanding from Kim. So it was put in on Podtv TV movies, but that strike is actually supposed to end on tomorrow. So hopefully they'll be able to come back to the regular YouTube. They can also go to podtv.tv and watch things at that time of the show itself. And I know that Kim is working on PodTV Chatter, which will allow people to watch it after the fact, because every show will have its own.
And the other thing is, Sasha, we've been working. We have to have Kim do this, working on getting a lot of our shows on TikTok.
Right.
And we put on Lawyers Den on TikTok. We had 2,500 likes within 5 minutes. I mean, that was likes. I have no idea how many viewers.
No, and the other thing that TikTok can do, because I've done a couple of, Kim has done it, I've done it as well. Kim has done it more than I have. I've even put, I think, a couple of your shows on TikTok, and sometimes they get 100 likes and everything like that. The interesting thing with TikTok is that, and I know not everybody is fans of TikTok, is that you can actually get demographic breakdown. So I've actually seen that some of the shows are being watched by Bosnia and that area, and some of the shows are actually being watched in Canada. I know that Nick has been watching some shows, so I see Spain, and it'll break it down by states as well.
Listen, I'm not trying to play YouTube against TikTok. I think it's each one is very
they're just different.
I don't mind to use TikTok, so I'm not so sure on my audience. They're mostly all of them. Not mostly, all of them, they are on YouTube. Now, how many of those are also on TikTok remains to be seen. So I would, if both are working, I would be willing to provide links to both YouTube and TikTok. Now on Podtv, the problem is that these links are not working. And I've had many tries myself, and my people who are trying to watch the show on Podtv. It's just not working. I don't know. You need somebody knowledgeable how to make it work, or just keep it quiet on the background. But YouTube is, for my audience, is number one. You see, the thing is, it's so simple. Any idiot has a YouTube account. There is no people that I know of who have no.
And
It's on television, it's everywhere. So in fact, sometimes I want to see my show, I watch it on my TV. I have a large TV screen and it's beautiful and it's working there all the time, except recently it's no longer there. It's no longer on a large screen, on a small screen, or any screen. And I got so many, Mark, I told you, so many angry responses from people who have a very busy life, and nevertheless they're taking the link and they activate it. They go to YouTube and they say show is not available.
Yeah.
It's not there. And I'm just getting so many angry responses that I might as well stop doing that.
No, and like I said, I know that YouTube does the strikes, and we have no control over that. I can try to see what I can do, but like I said, I didn't even know about the strike until I learned about it.
But I would like to understand, they strike against my shows only, or they strike against...
They strike all various shows. They strike different types of shows. They've even struck World Edition. I think they've struck different other shows, including some of the news shows, but it impacts the entire network. So I think they gave us and some of the strikes make no sense. I mean, we got a show about the cruising and the cruising industry, and not the cruising that Rick talks about, like social cruising, but the actual ships and everything. And I think there was a couple of strikes on that, and she does not talk politics or anything along those lines. She's just talking about the cruise industry and which lines are doing better. And then she has profiles on some of the ship captains and things like that. And I don't know, I'd have to ask Kim what the strike was for, but I know there was a strike on that show as well. So some of the strikes I don't quite understand. Maybe Nick has a better understanding, but they do seem like they are sometimes done haphazardly, and I'll just put it that way and everything. I did have a quick question for a new show, and I just came up with this brilliant idea and everything like that, since we have our good friend Gretchen on here and everything along those lines. So Gretchen, one of the things I was curious about, you are in Wyoming and everything like that. Wyoming is farm country. I know that you are definitely a Trump supporter, but I don't care about people's politics. I care about providing good quality content and everything like that. That's kind of my nature of Podtv and everything. So whether it's you or whether I team you up with somebody else and everything, the farm industry is a very important part of the society and everything like that. And Podtv doesn't have a farm show right now. So I was just wondering if you'd be open to the possibility of having a show around the farm industry, since you are in Wyoming and you are a farmer yourself and everything like that. So like I said, if we could figure out a day or a time, but I just didn't know if you would be open to the possibility of having a show around the farm industry, because I know that you are in that space, and I might even be able to team you up with a North Carolina farmer or some other farmers as well, so you don't feel like you have to do it solo and everything like that. But I was curious if you'd be interested in doing a farm show, because I remember in North Carolina that used to be very popular. We used to have like Farm Report on our local television station, and we got a lot of interest because people are interested in beef prices. They're interested in different other prices and everything like that. So I don't know if that's something you would be interested in. I just kind of like threw that out there. Nick didn't even know I was going to do that. So is that something you would be interested in, is a possibility of a farming oriented show?
Well, we do farm, we do ranch. Right now we are calving our cows. We have a cow calf herd. Right now I'm in a very busy time of actually farm flowers. In the spring, I have a garden center here in our local community. So I'm busy growing those plants. My husband will start tilling the ground and getting the alfalfa fertilized and ready. I am not an expert on farming. Yes, we do it, but I'm not sure that unless I can get experts in there talking about it, I don't understand the markets as well as I perhaps should, though my husband does. So I'm not sure that would be a good fit for me. I do like to talk more politics than I do farming and the way we make a living. I was very interested in the stock market, but we don't watch it because I understand that this is a time in which our economy has to right itself. Donald Trump is helping with that. So we don't pay attention daily to the stocks. We're going to ride it out. What I do know about the stock market, you sell low and you buy low and you sell high. You try to get those things that were already mentioned that are stock market fluctuation proof, which we do have investments that are are more fluctuation proof. So on these downturns that we know are happening because of the craziness of the stock market, to any political fluctuations, and these tariffs are a big deal, and we anticipate things going back up before too long because of the what we know about tariffs and other nations. We definitely know that America can do without the goods from other nations, but other nations cannot do without the business of America, and they will come to the table because of these tariffs. So I anticipate that. So, well, I'm not sure a farm show would be the best fit for me, although, having conversations about it, definitely, because we do work the land, we do work with livestock. We do break our own horses. We do things like that. But as far as the markets and maybe people wanting to know specific things about farming and prices and things like that, I'm not sure that's a good fit for me. But definitely having that conversation.
What about a political show, Gretchen? In other words, in our network, we do tend to have a lot of these leftists. But we don't have a lot of right people. And I think you lean more toward the right and would like to have some more balance in what we're doing. Would you be interested in entertaining a political show?
I definitely would. Right now, it's my go-to is not just politics, but connecting making those connections with our own American history, world history, the politics of the time. Of course, how Donald Trump and Abraham Lincoln are so similar in the divided nations that they are, Lincoln was dealing with during the Civil War and Donald Trump is dealing with now. Trying to right an economy that has been so wrong for so long.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the thing is, what I'm saying is, I could bring in a couple of our other people to help you with that project, that we could actually have a political show. Political shows tend to do very well on our network because our shows are predominantly talk shows. And so the thing is, they get a lot of views. What can I say? It's just the nature of the beast. But we don't have, I think, how many political shows we really have? World Politics, that is in the evening, Mark. And then World Edition, somewhat.
World Edition, somewhat. World Politics is, to some degree, you folks at the lawyers didn't get political, particularly on the Supreme Court stuff. Supreme Court review get somewhat political. Definitely, the Doing Justice Brings Joy is politically oriented and everything, but and definitely Dropping Pearls with Mama G gets political. So it's about 6 or 7 political shows that are out there and everything like that. But definitely some of them are centrist to liberal, and definitely we could have some more that are more on the right side and everything. I know that we can re-air, and we've been talking about it, some of the stuff that comes from Australia, but Shaquille's been dealing with I think some medical and some other things, so he's been out of pocket. But I do know that we've talked about that and everything. So if we get those shows, that would definitely be some more that are on the right side of politics and everything, or the right leaning side of politics. So definitely that could be something that could be done and everything like that. So definitely that's a possibility for a newer show that could come out and everything. And I know that we even had some shows that have talked about spinoffs and everything like that. So I'm talking to some other people about some other shows. I still like this idea. I don't know what you think about it, but farmland does make a significant part of our land, and I would help find the guests. So even if Gretchen doesn't do it, I think that we do need a farm show of some sort, or a show that covers rural America, because right now most of our shows are very much urban based.
Yeah. And Wyoming is a big rural place. There's lots of land. And
lots of land. We have the fewest people of any state in the country. Yeah. So there is a lot of land in between all of the landmarks. We have more antelope than we do people. But we do have some really terrific farm and ranch land. That is true.
Right. Yeah. And see, I've gone through Wyoming several times, but I haven't really, mainly I think the Lake Tahoe area. So not Lake Tahoe. What's that
Jackson
place?
Hole.
Jackson Hole. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would confuse those two. Jackson Hole, seemed to be like a pretty happening place. Are you near Jackson Hole, or are you far away from it?
We are as far away from Jackson Hole as you can get and still be in Wyoming. We are next to the Nebraska line.
Okay, right. Yeah, that's pretty far out. Are there a lot of farming?
Is Wyoming in the rodeo category? Because I did have a friend of mine that I used to date way back when I was in college, and I noticed she was into the rodeo, but she was in South Dakota, which is not in Wyoming, but it's not that far from there. But I know there was an active rodeo culture there, and I have a cousin that's Native American, involved in the Native American powwow circuit and everything along those lines, and I know that that's very active as well. So I just wondering, in Wyoming, how active are the powwows and the rodeos?
Well, definitely the rodeos. Every small town has, every county has a fair. Rodeo is the number one attended sport in the nation. It beats out football, beats out baseball, beats out everything. There are more people that attend rodeos than any other sport in America. So rodeo is, every community college has a rodeo team in the West. Wow. As far as I'm aware, Rapid City is terrific for rodeo. But counties all across the West, a rodeo is definitely something, not just yearly, but there are activities that are in the arenas with the horses, barrel races, all kinds of things that happen in rural communities. So rodeo is a big deal. And across America, there is now a TV station that you can watch, the Cowboy Channel, which is nothing but rodeo. And They started small, kind of like Podtv, and then they just got big because they did give people what they wanted to watch in good programming.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, all the ones I knew were the Pendleton Roundup and the Calgary Stampede. There were two big ones, and then there was the Omak Stampede, something like that. That's
Cheyenne Frontier Days. You can Google it, and you can really educate yourself on the extent of rodeo in America, because it's not mainstream, but it is Main Street. So
it has a big niche.
Yeah, it definitely has a big niche, just like NASCAR has a big niche here in North Carolina and everything like that, but not just in North Carolina, throughout the South, but it definitely has a large field here in this area and everything. As a matter of fact, I think they just recently started a NASCAR museum or something like that. I think that was just recently opened or something, if I'm remembering correctly. I got to look that up, but I do know that NASCAR is very big here. Folks love to see their cars going around and everything like that. So definitely there's.
Yeah. Well, see the problem with it's just like the problem with rodeos and things like that. They require you off-site filming, which is a real pain in the rear to do. The talk shows do not. And so the thing is, a political talk show is like right up our alley because we can easily get involved in that. But the rodeo or something where you have to send cameras off and you run all these technical problems of doing it could be a big problem. But if you said, okay, we'll do a talk show based on Trump, Lincoln, or something like that, that wouldn't be a problem because we could bring in. We have plenty of people who love to talk about politics. That is not a problem. Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. Find what people want to hear and try it out, and that's of course the best way to go at something. I'm afraid I won't have any free time until the second week of June because of our garden center going on right now.
We're setting up for our summer push. So the thing is, find around there. We're trying to add some more variety to our programming. We have a group from the Spanish consulate who's going to be doing a new show. We also brought in a venture capitalist show from a professor at Duke University. So
we do have that. I forgot to mention that, the venture capitalist show. That is a new one.
Yeah. So Dr. Azar is doing that out of Duke University. So we're adding to our programming that we think people would be interested in. It's all predominantly talk programming because, like I said, the minute you say, okay, I want to film a rodeo, whoa, because it's unbelievable headaches to do that. I mean,
of course. And I definitely political shows are good, but this is the time to be sending out new shows, because as we know, so many people have decided that mainstream media is no longer the place where they're going to get their news. So they are going to places like this in order to find out what's true. And definitely this is the right time to start setting up new shows and getting things going, because your viewers are looking.
Yeah, and when we had in 2023 or 2024, 2.3 million verifiable viewers. So the thing is, when I say verifiable, meaning that I can, our computer systems say, these people actually saw you and where they saw you and all that other stuff. And then there's unverifiable viewers, because we repost on all these different sites and they don't give us the data. And then somebody says, well, how many people saw your show? I go, I don't know. Why not? Because the analytics in media still isn't there. Vimeo gave us the 2.3 million numbers and gave us the breakdown. I get breakdowns from LinkedIn weekly. TikTok we just started with, and I just saw one of them, like we just started with, and we had like 2,590 people tune in like 3 minutes. It was kind of amazing. You get thousands of people automatic. But TikTok is is a new distribution system for us. So we're looking to distribute. We distribute actually shows to a lot of different distribution systems. Unfortunately, the metrics haven't been there yet as good as I would like. But we do know the political shows do really well. Actually, Mark, I checked, the Angry Geeks are doing really well. They're kicking out.
Yeah, the Angry Geeks do really well. A couple of the other shows do really well, but I know the Angry Geeks have a good following, and they definitely have a large following and everything like that. So definitely that is a known thing in that space. So I was just wondering how much folks on the right even watching TikTok, because I know Kim has been very much into TikTok and everything like that. But Gretchen, are a lot of folks involved in TikTok? And because I know that one of the shows that Kim has been talking to, they probably lean more left to center and everything, but they've been very active in TikTok. But I didn't know how much of the folks on the right have been involved in TikTok.
I think it's more a generational thing than it is. It's a lot of young people. TikTok, to them, it's easy. It's their YouTube. It's the way they want to present themselves as well as watch content. So more young people are into TikTok. So that's something. I'm not sure it's a political left-right kind of thing.
What do you watch when you're out in Wyoming? I mean, what's the social media networks that you guys follow?
Well, although our internet is sometimes sketchy, here and there it is getting better. I think that's why we're so unpopulated, is because we don't have any large cities. But internet is better. We have everything available to us. We have satellite internet. My kids have Starlink. That's an easy one to get. And it's just, we have anything that's available, like was saying, our big TV, we can click on YouTube. Our phones, we use TikTok on our phones. YouTube, we can pull up anywhere. So what we have available to us, anything that anyone else across the nation has. And it's, like I said, it's pretty generational. The young people are on TikTok more so than the older people. But we have anything that anyone else across the nation has, as far as available to us.
Did you ever go to Rumble? Do you ever look at Rumble at all?
Rumble is, yes. I don't find it as easy as YouTube. Of course, Rumble and whatever the other ones were that were supposed to be whenever conservatives were censored, when COVID-19 information was censored, Rumble came up. Of course, Donald Trump has Truth Social. That came up because X and everything else were censoring. But a lot of people still like X.
Correct.
And no, I've not done much with Rumble. Simply,
Yeah,
it's more of a side one.
Yeah, the reason I said Rumble was the problem that we had to re-upload everything into their system. See, some of them, they make it very easy. Like Twitter is on our instant feed. So the thing is, if you do the show, we'll instantly go to Twitter, which is X now. That's not a problem. Some of them do require extra work to get on their system, and Rumble did, so we discontinued working with them. TikTok still requires us to go outside the system to get on it, but they have incredible viewership. So right now we have some people working on making sure that we get most of our shows on TikTok. And then StreamYard came up with a new feature, which Mark, when I was watching TikTok the other day, I saw you guys on everywhere I went. It's called Clips. This is pretty funny.
You can upload the clips onto TikTok.
Yeah, you do a show. At the end of the show, you press a button. It's called Clips. Right. But what they do is they take it's artificial intelligence. They take your whole show and they put little clips on things that you talked about that their AI machine finds interesting. Right. And that goes for 15 seconds or 10 seconds. And then it gets transported into TikTok or YouTube or all over the bloody place. Yeah. And it's called Clips. It's a new StreamYard thing. So it's not on this one, but we have several StreamYard accounts. It's on another StreamYard account, and I use it all the time. And it's just, it's pretty cool.
It's a good way to upload things into TikTok and some of the other quicker places. I've also used it on Instagram and stuff like that. So it's definitely a way to get out there and to be seen by more people, because that's the general idea of media, to be seen by many.
But again, with that, you don't get the data back how many people actually saw you. So this is the thing that bothers me, because a lot of the people, how many people watch the clip? I go, I don't know. Why not? Because the metrics aren't there yet. I say yet because TikTok has been giving us good metrics.
Yeah, TikTok gives good metrics for sure. It'll even break it down by city and state and country, and it'll even break it down by gender, orientation, and a number of other factors as well. So yeah, they're definitely
Vimeo had good demographics, but right now I looked at their stock. I'm going, I don't know why their stock's trading so high. It was really good, Vimeo, and then all of a sudden it turned to trash, and I go, I can't do anything with their program. But they're the ones that gave us the 2.3 million. They showed us we're in 150 countries. They show how many people watched the show, where they watched it, how they watch it, because we run on Roku television, run on Amazon Fire television. So they broke it down everywhere. And then all of a sudden they upgraded their system and did something, and none of it works. I'm just sitting there going, like, why isn't their stock completely tanked? In other words, they took a really good system as Vimeo and made it really bad. And that's just the nature of the beast. And also, we were talking to Sasha about getting struck from YouTube. But, we have 50 plus shows. A lot of people talk about a lot of stuff. And YouTube, in some cases, will take our whole network down, which is what they did last week. And I don't know who said what about what to do it. So we're going to be up again on YouTube this week, but we have multiple YouTube channels. So we've learned. So we have YouTube TV, but we also have YouTube movies. So we moved everything to YouTube movies, so it's still on YouTube, but it's on a different channel. It's almost, you have to work around these distribution points. It's like a little game. And Facebook used to do it a lot, take us down a lot, but Facebook has eliminated that stuff, that garbage, because was finding out, why did they take us down? In other words, it's like, okay, we have a strike against, what do we do wrong? And they said, well, one time it was copyrighted music you're using, but the guy who owns the copyright was the guy who was doing the show.
Yep. Yeah, well, Coco gets that quite a bit, and she owns music, and he has other people that own the music as well. It makes no sense. The notion of copyright infringement when it's the people that are doing the music that are doing the show. So I don't understand that at all. But yeah, they've got some crazy rules and everything.
But Facebook has changed their policy, so they do not. I don't think they've taken us down in a long time. I haven't seen it. LinkedIn has never, except one time, took one show down, And that's when somebody hacked in and put a porn thing on one of our shows. I don't know how they did it, but all of a sudden it was a real short clip, like 5 seconds. All of a sudden I'm watching the show and it's pretty good. And boing, what's this? Then all of a sudden, poof, it was gone. And LinkedIn didn't like it, so they struck the show down. They didn't strike our network, they just struck the show down. I'm scratching my head even today how the hacker get in to do that. But that's just one.
One thing about the markets for anything like streaming and putting your show out there is the ease of use is absolutely directing not only where the content creators are creating their content, but also for those who are receiving the content. So the market will, work itself out in things that are easy to use, easy to post on and do all of that. We're in the midst of that right now. So any of these platforms, they will make those ups and downs and we'll discover, where the populations are going and where the people are, the easiest to use is important, and definitely
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Hey, Gretchen, just really quickly, because here in North Carolina we've got Mr. Beast. I know in California they've got a number of ones. I was just wondering, maybe it's even one of your own children and everything. Who are some of the big content creators in Wyoming, and have you have any contact with them? Because maybe we want to reach out to them and even have them on Podtv. But I didn't know if there was any big local content creators that you were aware of in Wyoming that are popular, much in the way that Mr. Beast became big here from North Carolina.
Well, I don't know that Wyoming has any big content creators. We have such a small population and just not, it's like I said, we don't have big cities here. I think our biggest city is 50,000 people. Cheyenne, Wyoming, Casper, Wyoming, and they are hours apart. So I think the content creators are elsewhere in places that, I may have to do a little research. I do believe that Harriet Hageman creates more content than maybe anybody else in Wyoming. As far as nationally, she does post a lot. And of course she is our Liz Cheney replacement. She is our one representative in Congress. So perhaps Harriet Hageman is the top content creator in Wyoming.
You only have one congressperson in Wyoming?
And that's kind of a stretch to come up with a population.
2 senators and 1 congressperson.
We might have 500,000 people in Wyoming. We might have 500,000 people. That's it.
500,000, 500,000 more.
Well, I just looked up an article. I did some research for you really quickly, and it says 20 Wyoming, Utah YouTubers in 2025. So apparently there are 20 folks that are doing well and everything. I'm going to mention their names, and maybe you heard of them, but Mike and Aaron, apparently our Wyoming Life features our Wyoming ranch and our ranch family, giving you a look into the working of ranching, from raising cattle to raising and harvesting crops. And apparently that is one of them. They've got a channel and everything. There's Jill Winger, and apparently she's got a Wyoming homestead family, helping modern families leave the rat race and create a more meaningful home life by growing their own food, learning old-fashioned skills. And her channel name is the Prairie Homestead. And then there's C. Jackson Hole, which is probably a a public relations one from Jackson Hole, Wyoming PBS, Travel Wyoming. So some of these are travel ones. Remax Capital Properties, Cheyenne, Wyoming. WIO Vision, which provides everything you need to keep up with Wyoming athletics. So I'm guessing that's probably the school one and everything. Wyoming Business Council, Wyoming State Park, Wyoming. So a lot of these look like they are, as you just said, things that have to do with like the institutions, because I even see one for the Wyoming State Library that's in the top 20. There's something called Jennings Outdoor. They say they're just good old American content. I live in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, and want to share my adventures with the world, and that is Jennings Outdoors. So apparently they live in the outdoors. And then there's one for Wyoming Public Radio, Wyoming Liberty Group, A Guy in Wyoming. That's the name of the channel. He says, welcome to Wyoming. Follow along with the new videos every Friday as I work on the ranch and travel the state. We'll see historic places, ride some horses, work some cows, and do some other things as well. But even deal with some fixed equipment when it breaks and everything. So those are some of the ones that I found, including one called Arizonian in Wyoming. My name is Amber Costle, and I'm here to share with you what can go on in my daily life. Me and my now family of 4 have moved to Wyoming to have many new experiences. Come join us. So apparently y'all got a couple of folks that are doing some YouTube. That was according to Speed Spot and everything and the YouTuber database. So there's a couple of folks that are doing some public things in there. So Nick, we might have to reach out to Jill Winger or some of these other folks and see if they want to bring their shows to Podtv, because those were the 20 Wyoming YouTubers in 2025, and that was released March 25th of this year.
Okay, yeah, lots of interesting stuff. My life in rural Wyoming, in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
That would be pretty interesting. See, Mr. Beast is actually in I think Greenville, North Carolina, some small town. Okay, but Gretchen, Mr. Beast has 100 million subscribers worldwide.
Yeah, Mr. Beast talks about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, he's kicking some serious tail with 100 million subscribers. See, in Wyoming, if you got the whole state to watch your show, you'd have 500,000.
Well, the lady I mentioned, Jill Winger.
That's even babies are watching it.
Jill Winger, she's considered an influencer. That's the type of channel she has, and she has 326,000 YouTube subscribers and 678.1 thousand Facebook followers. So she's considered a macro influencer, and apparently she's been doing it since 2011. And like I said, her name is Jill Winger and everything. And the first one I saw, Mike and Aaron, they've got 286,000 subscribers and 336.1 thousand Facebook followers and 1.2 thousand looks like Twitter followers and 19.1 thousand Instagram followers. And that's that couple that is got their ranch and everything, Mike and Aaron. So they got some people, they're considered influencers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good metrics, actually. Good attendance on that. But see, Wyoming though is actually a pretty affluent state. Maybe it has to do with Jackson Hole. The people there are doing.
Well. Jackson Hole is not indicative of the state at all. It is the one county that Liz Cheney won with 70%. And that was it. So Jackson Hole is full of rich people who have bought places. They don't necessarily live in the state, but they have a vacation home. That's very rich county over in Teton County and Jackson Hole. So it's not real indicative of the state. Yellowstone is over in that area. Most of the state, however, is badlands, is farmland, is pasture, is open country, and little towns here and there. Lots of little towns, and then a few bigger ones. Like I said, I think our biggest one might have 50,000 people.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty small. That's like not even a suburb of certain cities.
It's all about getting online. The world is at our feet. As long as we have an internet connection and a phone, which is so incrable today, what media can do and where we can go. It's limitless, actually.
I had a question for Gretchen, just really quickly about Wyoming, because I was looking at the Travel Wyoming, and they were talking about and I know Wyoming is wide open, like you said, and it's definitely known for its nature and everything like that. So Gretchen, I was just wondering, have you ever gone mountain biking or snowmobiling? Because apparently that's some big activities there in the area, along with rafting. So I was just wondering if you've ever done any of that in your life and everything.
Okay, now I have done snowmobiling. I grew up snow skiing. I grew up in a large city, Louisville, Kentucky. Came out to Wyoming about 35 years ago, and have never left. So I'm originally a city girl, gone country. But yeah, there are not necessarily rivers everywhere that are for whitewater rafting, but every summer, my husband and my kids and I they'll come home and we will actually kayak the river or
Okay.
float the river in inner tubes. Sometimes you can take a big metal stock tank and float down the river. So it's kind of recreational. We do have lakes where we can take our boat out. But snowmobiling more, you've got to go to the mountains. We are not near the mountains. We're probably about 2.5 hours away from mountains. There are several ranges in Wyoming. We're not near them. Most land in Wyoming is actually flat, but there are mountain ranges that rise up here and there, and the Rockies over in the far western part of the state would be the largest mountains that we have. But there's also the Snowy Range and the Bighorn Mountains in the north. So lots of interesting stuff in Wyoming. I have not done any whitewater rafting, although we do kayak down our own North Platte River here in Wyoming. So there are lots of other recreational things, not necessarily having to do with snow or water or what really was the other thing you mentioned?
I forgot the other one. I got away from that thing and everything. Just really quickly, because I know we're getting ready to wind down. We got to get ready to do timeshares and everything. But I was actually featured on a news story, and I was curious if y'all are doing a lot of retro buildings and everything. Because one of the things that happened in North Carolina is that the Harriet Tubman Library, which is a historical library, is now being turned into public housing. And the Cultural Arts Center that I work at was a historical church and everything, but now it's a cultural arts center. So I'm just wondering, because that's one of the things that I talked about on the article in the Daily Tar Heel, was how Durham, this particular city, has done a good job of turning old buildings into new uses. So I was just wondering if y'all done a lot of that in Wyoming, where they might have been used for one thing historical and then you turned it into something else.
Oh, definitely. We have places, cities where old train depots have been turned into things. Keep in mind that Wyoming is a very young state. 1890 is when we became a state. So almost the turn of the 20th century. So most of the old buildings we have, Laramie has a prison that was turned into a museum. But yeah, we have our historical restorations, just like anyone. A lot of them are Western. A lot are Western buildings, old places like that. We do have our old places, but some of them are not near as old as some places in the Eastern United States. But yes, we do. We turn old buildings into lots of different things here in Wyoming as well.
Yeah, because I live in Barcelona, Spain, so I'm broadcasting from Barcelona. I have an office in Salt Lake, so I'm going to be in Salt Lake in May and June. I travel a lot, as they would say, a big difference. But yeah, the political show sounds very interesting. And also people around the world probably want to know a little bit more about Wyoming, because you don't hear that much internationally about Wyoming at all. So I think it would be something that would be really very interesting to talk more about your state.
And I think there are a lot of misconceptions about Wyoming as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions, and we can erase some of those misconceptions and everything like that. And speaking of history, that museum, the Harriet Tubman Museum, or the library, I should say, Harriet Tubman Library, along with the Hayti, were listed on the National Registry. So they are now designated in the historical buildings. I'm sure there are buildings like that in Wyoming as well. So definitely those history things are always important as well.
Yes. And we have to go now because we have the timeshare show come up. We want to thank Gretchen Walt from Wyoming. For the people internationally who don't know where it is, it's in the middle of the United States somewhere. And we'll
it is. Thank you so much. You all have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.